Alex! Jane, he responded as she pushed the button labeled Open Doors, not about to give him the idea she'd been waiting around for him. No, he would have to earn her affection. She'd set a high price tag on herself, and former teen sweetheart or not, he would need to prove his worth like any other gentleman she'd allowed into her life, which had been few and far between. When the doors opened, she waited until he stepped out, not wanting to barge into his territory without following his lead. He turned to their left and led her along a wide corridor, bordered on their right by the balcony rail. Reaching the corner of the floor, they turned right, and the sewing workshop on their left came into view. "So this is where all of it happens," she said as they passed a long wall of glass windows, where she could see dozens of seamstresses operating their machines. They could hear the hum of the machines even outside the windows. With nearly all of them running at about the same time, the noise was loud, somehow comforting, and even exciting to hear. Their productivity magnetic, drawing all of her attention. Maybe part of the comfort was the fact that she could remember her mother sewing in the evenings sometimes as a hobby. She'd never really caught on to it as much as her mother, but she remembered making a few projects over the years. He nodded, stopping at the last window before the entrance to the workshop. This is where it all happens. They stood there for a long time while Jane watched the seamstresses, their heads bent over their various fabrics as they sewed, guiding the garments through the machines. Pincushions, scissors, ironing boards, and cutting tables drew her attention. She saw a variety of mannequins and forms in the long room displaying fashionable designs, and a great quantity of rolls of fabric on shelving at one end. Two supervisors walked through the aisles between rows of machines and their operators, inspecting their progress as they each carried a clipboard, tape measures draped loosely around their necks. "Ready to meet Ashley Beaumont, Jacob Lawrence, and Carlotta Michaels before I take you inside the workshop?" "Your designers are here today?" she asked, a brow rising, glancing up at him briefly. For some reason, she hadn't actually expected to meet them, and the thought made her happy since she personally owned some of their designs, including the one she wore today, made by Jacob Lawrence himself. She hated to tear her eyes from the work the seamstress ladies performed, fascinated with all of it. She often cross-stitched and did some crochet. Her creative side wanted to dive into the workshop. Fabrics and denims, silks, satins, gabardines, tweeds, plaids, lace, and even sequins and beaded rolls spread out along the cutting tables drew her attention. "They're here 5 days a week, sometimes more often depending on the project. And sometimes the creative mood strikes and they turn up at all hours." Alex observed her closely as she watched the seamstresses busy at their work, his arms crossed over his chest, one shoulder leaning on the glass. Nodding, she replied, "I'm excited to meet them." He took her by the hand seconds later and led the way to the next corridor. This time, Alex took her inside the office space designated for his designers. More mannequins cropped up everywhere she looked as they made their way around the various collections, navigating past perhaps as many as 25 or 30, but grouped together in sets of 4 or 5 on various platforms to represent summer, fall, winter, and spring collections. Stray mannequins in the corners or odd places here and there caught her eye, and she wanted to know what the artists were thinking about their in-process designs as all sorts of questions filled her mind about the lovely garments she saw in various stages of creation. Nearest the door, the mannequins wore finished garments, but as they drew closer to the designers and their desks in the middle of the space.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.